Hello, everyone. It's me again. Most of you know me. My name is Glenn DeResto, for those who don't. And I hope you have a few minutes of your time because, like yourself, I am very passionate about the Rockaway community. And you guys dedicate a lot of time being on the community board. And I've dedicated a lot of time to immerse myself in a lot of land use, zoning, and urban planning projects that have been going on in the Rockaways over the last couple of years. But tonight I want to specifically talk to you tonight about Arverne East. Arverne East is something that is a very current topic that the community is talking about. You guys are going to be voting on a couple land use issues. The two land use issues you're going to be voting on tonight are whether or not to rezone a portion of the area to allow for manufacturing for the Rockaway Brewery, and another is a UDAP for the tax exemption to be in the nature preserve. I'll leave that up to you guys. I personally don't have a problem with either one of them as a whole. And to be honest with you, I like the Arverne East proposal. I think it's a decent proposal if it were to stand alone. Unfortunately, this project, this development does not stand alone by itself. And I'll go into that for a little bit. So I please do hope that you will not only take the time to listen, but you'll take the time to try to understand this. This is a very complicated and convoluted, and it's got a long history. So it might get a little boring, but I'm going to do my best to try to explain it to all you guys who are on the community board, because some of you don't know, and you rely on those who do know to try to educate you a little bit, and I'd like to do that tonight. So for those who don't know, the Arverne East development was part of the Arverne Urban Renewal Area, okay? And that was planned in 2000, okay? So in 2001, and that it's the Arverne Urban Renewal Area is broken up into three separate segments. So you have Arverne East, which we're talking about tonight. You have Arverne Central, which is the nature preserve, and you have Arverne West, which is Arverne by the Sea. And for those who live in Rockaway long enough, we know that Arverne by the Sea is been such a boost and has allowed so many benefits for all our residents here in Rockaway. We were able to get a Stop and Shop. We got a YMCA. We finally have restaurants and coffee shops that we could eat at. And we've been neglected for so long. And Arverne by the Sea helped do that. And the whole idea of the Arverne Urban Renewal Area was to develop an area that was economically underprivileged. In fact, for those who don't know, I have the original environmental impact statement, in case you're wondering. I got all the appendixes. I read pretty much all of it. I also read the Edgemere Commons environmental impact statement. I also read the downtown Far Rockaway environmental impact statement. So I'm very much aware of most of the things that go on in this development. So I just want to read some lines from the environmental impact statement. Again, the whole idea of the Arverne Urban Renewal Area, which Arverne East is a part of, was it was supposed to bring in middle-class housing to the community to allow long-term vitality and a better integration of economics in the community, so the stores can stay open because we have enough people to shop that have enough money and that can support local businesses. This is, in words, what's from the environmental impact statement. Okay, the proposed action is intended to promote economic integration by encouraging middle-income households to reside in a community that contains concentrations of poverty. Moreover, the forthcoming RFP of the eastern portion, which means Arverne East, intends to call for a variety of housing types which would preclude a concentration of apartment buildings and would guarantee the presence of lower scale homes. The proposed project would also reduce the concentrations of poverty within the area by introducing 39 new middle-income households. So that 3,900 middle-income households that they want to introduce, 2,200 are in Arverne by the Sea, and the remainder are in Arverne East. And by greatly increasing the number of new middle-income households, the proposed project would promote greater income diversity and introduce more local spending power without displacing lower income households. See, you could have both. You could have development and improvement and without displacing people, because a lot of the people that do live in the area are living in some type of rent stabilized apartment, rent regulated apartment. And this is all in the environmental impact statement. These are not my words. These are the words from the city that did their lead agency, HPD, that did the environmental impact statement. So we all know Arverne by the Sea is being built, and now they're planning to build Arverne East. And I think, like all of you, I'm happy to see development in the Rockaways. And like probably all of you, I believe there's a need for affordable housing. I think housing expenses have gotten insane across the city. I know there's a need for affordable housing in the city, and there's a need for affordable housing in Rockaway. Some of my friends look for, they're looking for an apartment for $1,000, $1,200, and there is none. So affordable homeownership, affordable housing, development is what is needed, but it's got to be done right. And unfortunately, here's some of my concerns, and should be your concerns as well. So when Arverne East, the city put out what's called an RFP, request for proposal, when that was put out in 2005, it was called on that the development of Arverne East would call for 80% market rate housing and 20% affordable housing. Okay? Somehow that is now switched. The plan they're selling to us is going to be 80% affordable housing and 20% market rate housing. And to be honest with you, I think we should be okay with that. And for those who aren't, I don't think you really maybe understand affordable housing and how it works. But one of the things they're not telling us is how many affordable homeownership opportunities there will be, because we all know that affordable homeownership is desperately needed in our community, desperately. And they're also not letting us know how the allocation of that affordable housing will work. Okay, so if you look at another development where Peninsula Hospital used to be, what's called Edgemere Commons, is that 2,050 units of housing, which is going to bring in 6,000 people, only allocated 17% for moderate and middle income families. Only 17%. So, at the end of the day, and looking at that, that's not true income integration. So I think we need answers from the city regarding Arverne East. What is going to be the allocation? And we should be demanding that a major component of that affordable housing is affordable homeownership. So to get into this a little bit more, so in 2005, the RFP was issued. In 2006, here is the plan. And that was won by L&M, Triangle Equities, and Bluestone. I happen to like the developers. I think, the plan for the most part is pretty decent. I don't have a problem with that. But I think all of us know here that we cannot trust the city. The city does nothing but lie to us, and the city does nothing but mislead us. They control the conversation. And to be honest with you, they're never forthright. They always do this bait and switch. So to have originally 80% market rate, 20% affordable housing, and now to flip that, that's a bait and switch. Okay? I get it, times have changed. There's probably more of a need for affordable housing, but we need to make sure that it's a major component of affordable home ownership, and we need to make sure that we know the allocation of that housing before. So with that being said, this development is going to be 1,650 units of housing. Of the 1,650 units of housing, 330 are slated to be market rate. Okay, that's 20% when it was supposed to be 80. But I'm okay with that. So out of the 1,320 that are left, they're not letting us know how many are going to be affordable homeownership. They're not letting us know how many are the allocation. So I'm pushing for more affordable homeownership. I'm pushing for incomes that are more moderate to middle. And the reason for that is right down the block, the largest affordable housing development in the entire city was approved. 2,050 units of affordable housing. Again, we don't have problems with affordable housing, but only 17% were allocated for moderate and middle income families. So if you look at the two developments together, that's not true income integration when you take a look at it. And not only that, downtown Far Rockaway also has 3,123 units of housing. This does not include Edgemere Urban Renewal Area, which is going to have close to 900 units of housing. This is not including Between Dunes 2, Between Dunes 3. So when you take all of this development that's going on, that's planned already and underway, you're talking about 8,000 to 9,000 units of housing, which is going to attract over 25,000 people to the community in the next 10 to 15 years. And that is from Beach 69th Street to downtown Far Rockaway. That concentration there is going to be huge. And there's going to be a lot of environmental issues that we should be looking at. But not only that, if we don't stand up to the city now, they will never stop. They will continue to walk all over us. Because if you look at it, there are lots of pieces of land here that are primed for development. And once the city hears that and they get their hands on it, that they're not going to stop. So it's going to be up for us to fight to get what we need as a community. We all need safer neighborhood. We all need better schools, schools that are not overcrowded. We need job opportunities, healthcare, better transportation and roads. They're giving us a problem expanding a road to a 4-lane. Are they kidding? They don't live here. We live here. We know the problems. We're asking to solve these things. So if we don't stop the city now, and the reason being is that there is land next to the post office on 59th Street, but behind the Human Resource Administration. That's going to be developed. There's land that's next to the old Peninsula Hospital site. Peninsula Hospital is going to be developed, but land next to it where Papa John's is, that will be developed. Next to the Adabo Center, across from the Adabo Center, that long stretch of land, that's going to be developed. Behind the Adabo Center, that will be developed. There's going to be so much development going on in the Rockaways over the next 10 years, you won't know what hit you. So they will continue to do what they want unless we stand up and demand it. Okay. So I could go on and on because I'm very passionate about this. And, I hope you guys will watch this whole video and just think that I'm not ranting. I love the Rockaway community. I think it is the best community in the entire city of New York. And I think we have a lot of opportunities here. So when you guys had the meeting the other day, Dr. Paez mentioned about schools. And one of the things that was mentioned about schools was there was a need for better quality schools, not underperforming schools, which we seem to have a lot of underperforming schools, and there was a need for more school seats. And a gentleman from the mayor's office, you remember, saying, oh yeah, we have 2 pieces of land set aside, but as of right now, there's no need for schools. Yeah, but you're building major developments all over. These are large-scale developments with going to bring thousands of people, and they're not taking this seriously. So I'm going to read a little excerpt from the Edgemere Commons Urban Environmental Impact Statement. This has nothing to do with the impact statement from 2003. You got to remember, this environmental impact statement is 17 years old. When they did this study, we had 2 hospitals. Now we had 1. Where one of our hospitals is going to be 6,000 more people. So a lot of these people are going to rely on the resources that we're talking about: schools, medical, education. So I just want to talk about these schools here. So basically, from the environmental impact statement, it says with action, meaning approving of the development. So the development was Edgemere Commons. So when Edgemere Commons is completed, and it's going to take some time, 10, 15-year build out, elementary schools in school district 27, subdistrict 1, which includes the Rockaways, right? Only the Rockaways, because we're not talking about the mainland now. This is subdistrict 1 of Community Board 27. Would continue to operate with a shortfall of seats. The sub-district would operate with a 135% utilization rate and a deficit of 1,991 seats. Okay? I'm not making this up. This is out of the city's own study. So it says here, and I highlighted it, the proposed project would result in a significant adverse impact on elementary schools. Meanwhile, someone at the mayor's office told Dr. Paez the other day that that's not true. So aren't they just contradicting each other? They're lying. They're controlling the narrative. And it's time for us to call them out on it. So that's just elementary schools. There's also a very small shortage on intermediate schools as well. But also, with all of the affordable housing that they want to build, a lot of times when they build a lot of affordable housing, there is a need for resources. And one of those resources is public child care, Head Start programs. And it says here, the capacity of publicly funded child care and Head Start centers in the area is not expected to increase. Consequently, by building the new development, the study area would have a utilization rate of 167% and a deficit of 553 seats. This would cause a severe and adverse impact on us residents here. Now, take this into consideration. That is the Edgemere Commons EIS. But they're not also including what's going on in Arverne by the Sea, because what they've done is the city has segmented all these different land use actions. And when they studied them separately and independently when they were supposed to study them cumulatively to give us a proper understanding of what our community really needs. And they have not done that, which technically is in violation of the state and the city environmental quality review. And I'll get into that probably a little bit more. So we went into schools, we went into child care. Let me see if I could find the part. This is the Edgemere Commons EIS. It says here, Edgemere Commons, the proposed project would not result in the creation of a sizable new neighborhood where none existed before, and the project site is in the development and populated area of Far Rockaway. Since when is 2,000 units not a sizable new neighborhood, which is going to have 6,000 people? Okay? And again, that's not taking into consideration the Arverne East development. Because again, when they studied Arverne East, there was 2 hospitals. Now there's only 1. So that's why we need a study done. What kind of impact is that having on our healthcare facility? The ability to this community to have quality healthcare. We don't just need healthcare, we need quality healthcare. I'm getting a little passionate about this, as you can see. So basically says here, a detailed analysis of indirect effects of healthcare facilities was not warranted. That's what the EIS says from Edgemere Commons, and it was not warranted because it was not a sizable new neighborhood. Okay? Edgemere Urban Renewal Area, Arverne East, Edgemere Commons, downtown Far Rockaway. Again, when done with some of the other infill housing, you're looking at about 9,000 units of housing. 9,000 units of housing, bringing in 25,000 plus people, just to zip codes 11691 and 11692, from 69th Street to downtown Far Rockaway. So, again, the city will do what it wants. So you guys are going to be voting very shortly, but I want to educate you guys on some things as well. So you guys are voting on some land use actions. I've been through the Euler process before, and the city can do what they want. It goes from you, then it goes to the borough president. The borough president says no, then it goes to city planning says yes, and then it goes to city council. City council has the final vote. City council will say yes on these matters, just letting you know. Okay, so the area, the builder can build as of right. So they don't need your permission except to put a brewery in and get a tax break on that nature preserve area, right? So they can build as of right. However, in building as of right was all those zoning actions were related to 2003, when the community board voted to allow those changes to the zoning. But it specifically says, go back to the minutes from 2003, if you still have them, that the community board, although approving these land use actions, is not approving Arverne East until the plan is approved by the community. It says it. Do your research. You'll find it. So in reality, they're only coming to you with 2 land use actions when they should be bringing the whole plan before you. So I think it might be time for us to stand up to the city and take legal action if necessary. Other communities around the entire city are doing it. Some of them been successful, some of them not. So 2 bridges, Inwood, there's one in Midtown. They're making a builder take 20 stories off a building. It's already built. And they're in court to take 20 stories off this building. So right now, knowing all this, I believe that we have legal grounds to stop this development. And when I say stop this development, I don't mean stop it in its entirety. Like I said, I personally like the development. I like the developers. I think the idea is good. But we have legal grounds to stand on for numerous reasons. First of all, the RFP was done in 2005 and submitted and awarded to the group in 2006. So the RFP has totally changed since then. So what the city should be doing is the city should be reissuing a new RFP with their new wants and letting people resubmit their plan and be awarded to someone based on the new plan that the city has. Again, we're not getting 80% market rate housing. We're getting 80% affordable housing, only 20% market rate. Plus there's a farm. Who puts a farm on prime oceanfront property that has harsh weather conditions, which I don't know how many plants you're going to get to grow in that soil. I don't understand it. That land can be better utilized for something else, but I'm not going to get into that That is not the point. But the RFP did not include a farm in there. It didn't include that type of affordable housing. There's a lot of changes, and it really should be reissued. So that's number one. Number two, as I mentioned earlier, the city and the developer are in violation of the State Environmental Quality Review and the City Environmental Quality Review. And the reason that is because that EIS that was done in 2003 is 17 years old. That information is outdated and inaccurate, and all the information that is in there, those things may not benefit us as a community, as I had mentioned. So I believe what they have done is what's called an illegal segmentation of the study area, particularly the Arverne urban renewal area, in addition to these other land use actions, because they've overlapped, their study areas have overlapped and they're adjacent to, and this cumulative effect was not taken into consideration that's going to have on our community. So I believe that we should be asking for a community benefits agreement. Okay? So when you guys meet tonight, you're going to be going through, vote on a couple motions, whatever. But here's what I'm going to ask. This is a public hearing. So this gives us legal recourse if needed. But I'm asking that a motion be made by a member of the community board. And that motion be that a minimum of 50% of the affordable housing units be affordable homeownership, with preference to community board 14 residents. Again, I am going to ask that a motion be made that a minimum of 50% of the affordable housing units being put aside be affordable homeownership, with preference given to community board 14 residents. That's not motion number one. I'm going to ask that another motion be made. And again, the city can do whatever they want. It doesn't make a difference how you vote on those other two or this one. City can do what they want, but this is us going on the record and asking for these things. If you don't ask, you don't get. Okay? If you don't ask, you don't get. So now we're asking. Okay. We're asking that the hotel have a deed restriction or covenants that limit a city or a nonprofit from purchasing or leasing that space. Again, that a motion be made that the hotel have a deed restriction or covenant to limit the city or nonprofits from purchasing or leasing that space. And the reason, I don't even have to mention the reason why. Those who are directly live in Edgemere know why. That's why your La Quinta, which was going to be a hotel, is no longer a hotel. The third motion that I'm going to ask a member of the community board make is that a new environmental impact statement be done. And that new environmental impact statement be done before any construction on any housing begins. Again, they could work on the nature preserve. We don't care. But we ask that a new environmental impact statement be done before work begins on any housing development. Those are the three motions that I'm asking members of the community board somehow make. Doesn't have to be, you could change it, somebody could amend it, whatever the case may be. But this is a public hearing. You guys should all take this very seriously. There are possible legal actions if we choose to as a community take. I believe we have legal grounds to stand on. And I'm not just saying this because I think. I've consulted with land use attorneys on numerous occasions during the Edgemere Commons planning, when you, as members of the community board, voted it down. And you did not vote Edgemere Commons down because you didn't want affordable housing in your home ownership and in our community. You voted it down, not to stop it, but to ask for changes. To ask, because we live here. We're the ones that have to deal with the commute. We're the ones that have to shop in the stores. We're the ones that have to look for parking. We're the ones that have to send our kids to school. So you voted it to reduce the density. You voted for a better allocation of affordable affordable housing. Anything you asked for, they didn't even give. So I'm asking for those motions to be made, please, in addition to whatever motions you might be making. Again, if we don't stand up now, it will not stop. I just want to make sure that if we need to, we have legal recourse. And again, I spoke to land use attorneys, and the only reason a lawsuit did not commence on Edgemere Commons was that I had lost, for those who know me, I had lost both my mother and father earlier this year. And it was very difficult for me at that time. And I just did not have the energy to fight. But one thing I do know, people in Rockaway, it's time for us to unite. Let's not fight each other, okay? We all want the same thing. We all want a better neighborhood. We all want it. It's how do we get there? Let's not fight with one another. Let's put pressure on the city to get what this community deserves, okay? And I did not have that ability to fight earlier in the year, but one thing that my parents did teach me is to fight and stand up for myself. And you know what? Not only believe I'm standing up for myself, but I believe I'm standing up for the Rockaway community, because those who know me know how passionate I am about Rockaway. And, you know, I'm going to die here. So many of you may move on. So my family goes back in this community over 100 years. Okay? Oh, think about it. Over 100 years, my family goes back in this community. It's important to me. And what I love about Rockaway is that it is the most diverse place. It is segregated, don't get me wrong, economically, racially, but this is our chance as members of a community. We agree, I guarantee we agree so much more than we disagree. So let's not yell at each other. Let's get this done. I hope you guys can make those motions. I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. This is not to marginalize people. This is not to stop development. This is not to stop affordable housing. What this is to get everything that we deserve. And I thank you for your time, because you guys put a lot of time and energy into being members of the community board. I don't want to be on the community board because it allows me to come out and rant like this if I need to. But I really appreciate all the work that you guys do. And again, this development is to provide opportunities to people, especially affordable homeownership would stabilize this community. It would allow people that have not had the opportunity to build generational wealth. If a major component of this was affordable homeownership, because there are developments down in Edgemere that were affordable homeownership, and they worked very well. They helped integrate middle-class housing with a lot of the public housing that was around it. So I thank you. I look, whatever you guys choose to do with regarding the brewery and the UDAP for the tax abatement is up to you guys. But I'm asking those motions, somebody make those motions tonight, somebody second them, have some discussion. It should not just be on those two motions. And the reason being is this is a public hearing. It gives us recourse. We're on record as a community asking for these things. I thank you. I hope you and your family stay safe and have a blessed Thanksgiving.